Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another Bitcoin update. And we have seen the start of that move to the downside that we've been calling for over a week now, an 8.5% move to the downside. And obviously one of the main topics of this video is discussing whether that correction will continue, and if so, to what price will it continue? And if so, will it actually damage the Bitcoin structure as a whole, or will it just be a short-term healthy correction? So those are big questions to answer there, especially as we go into Friday, which is the day in which we'll be seeing an ETF decision by the SEC on the Bitcoin spot ETF applications. That's huge. And then also, guys, I want to show you an exclusive long-term macro chart in regards to the weekly chart RSI and what it means for a potential pre-bull market correction, significant one for Bitcoin. Guys, without further ado, let's get into the content. Okay guys, before we get into today's content, let's check out an exclusive promotion running with the Bitget exchange right now. It's a trading event kind of thing. Trading volume above 5 million, you'll get an Apple Watch. Above 20 million, you get an iPhone 15. Above 50 million, you get the AirPods, you get the iPhone 15 and a MacBook. And above 200 million, you get a Rolex. Now, I think the Apple Watch is available to, I believe, 20 users. iPhone 15 is 10. Apple family is 5, I believe. And then Rolex is just one person. So this is a trading competition that you can get involved in. If you want to exceed these trading volume levels, you will get contacted by the Bitget exchange to claim your rewards here. It is for my community for the next 2 weeks. Check it out. Sign up to the Bitget exchange. Use my referral link below to gain access to this event. And if you're already on there, you'll already be automatically enrolled. And then also, guys, Bingx exchange is hosting some sort of trading competition as well. But we'll discuss that a bit more tomorrow. Both of those exchanges' referral links are in my description below, especially looking at Bitget, seeing as we have that promotion there. So guys, without further ado, let's get straight into the content. Sorry for that lengthy introduction. I wanted to get that out of the way. Okay, so a couple of things to look into today. Basically, Bitcoin, we'll start with this, right? Because we have a long-term chart to look into. Weekly chart's quite important here. We've got a cyclical chart to look into. But basically, the daily chart and in medium-term, short-term time frame, as expected, in the 4-hourly chart especially, Bitcoin has broken down nicely. Now, we predicted that this top was basically in at the top here. We knew that Bitcoin was exhausted. We saw the descending volume. We saw the RSI printing. Bearish divergence. We saw a rejection from this red line on the RSI at 88, which we rejected from back in January 2023, back in January 2021, and all the way back here in June 2019 as well. We predicted that well. That rejection was very clear in the charts, in my opinion, and we said basically very clearly to you guys, well, I said very clearly to you guys over the last week or so, even more than that, don't buy altcoins right now because altcoins have seen a dramatic pump over the last few weeks, but don't buy Bitcoin either. It's not worth it, right? After this massive move to the upside, after a 53% rally, guys, right? That's a big rally from the lows here in September, 53% rally to the upside with no significant correction whatsoever. I said it's not worth buying right now, especially with these signals of exhaustion. And so be it. We have seen a correction as predicted. The correction so far has spanned, I believe, 8.5%, which is quite significant. And the question is now, will there be more to come? Now, Bitcoin has reached our first target in this correction. Okay, throughout the entire correction, we said if we lose the 50 EMA, we will be going downwards and we will be testing this yellow uptrending line. That was the first target of the correction. So we've reached the first target. And now the question is, do we reach lower targets, right? The lower targets being down here at 33.4K, all right, which is the bottom of this entire range itself. And the lowest target being the actual macro support level, okay, that we rejected from back here in April 2023 and also here in July 2023. That level is looking at 32K to 30K, which I actually don't believe will go below at any point in this cycle, unless there is an ETF rejection. So will we reach those lower targets? Well, that's the big question. Unfortunately, I can't answer that question too well for you. What I can say is that this support level we have right now is quite well supported, okay? I don't think Bitcoin has seen all the correction it needs to see. The reason why I'm saying I don't really know is because the ETF decision, okay, is in just 48 hours. So it's very difficult to have any sort of concrete predictions when an ETF decision, which very well could throw all TA out the window very easily, is in 48 hours. I can tell you what the charts say. I'll tell you that in a second. But this uptrending support line, stemming back from 27th of October, we're testing right now, that we're holding right now, is supported by the daily chart RSI line that goes back to August 18th. You can see on the RSI, this yellow ascending line, we're testing it for support right now. It doesn't look like it's particularly prone to holding. It looks like it probably will break. And that's something that I want to make quite clear. I think that even though we're on support here, and even though I don't recommend selling here until we see that breakdown, I'm not particularly confident in this Bitcoin structure from a charting perspective. I don't believe that an 8% correction after a 53% move is sufficient. I don't believe that we should be making higher lows consistently on a shorter term time frame here. After all that we've seen, I think that we would be likely to break downwards to something lower, like at least 33.4k, potentially even a retest of 32k, and then see a healthy move to the upside from there. That would make a lot more sense to me personally from a charting perspective. I think in general, just objectively, it would. But again, I think it's very difficult to make any predictions when we're just 2 days out from seeing potentially 12 ETFs approved on Bitcoin. Now, what I will say is this, okay? If we see ETFs delayed, okay, delayed to January 10th, which would be the final deadline, which is, I think, what most people are expecting. In fact, we did a YouTube community poll, and 42% of people, which is the largest proportion of people, said we will see a delay. Okay, if it is delayed, if ETFs are delayed, we probably will see the downside price action start to take place on Bitcoin, and the price action reflect what the TA suggests, because then we'll have 2 months until the next decision. So if there is a delay, we'll go downwards. If there is an approval, of course, this TA doesn't matter anymore. We'll just skyrocket upwards, most likely. And if there is a rejection, well, then we can forget about holding 32k because I believe that will be lost. But sparing a rejection, I believe 32k will be held for this entire cycle. I said that yesterday. I'll say it again now. Sparing a rejection. And if we see a delay, I believe that Bitcoin is probably going to be seeing more corrections to come. That's just my personal opinion. And I think the charts do reflect that quite well. And I also do think it's not just the short-term charts that reflect that, it's also Bitcoin dominance. Now, Bitcoin dominance has been a pretty good predictor of where Bitcoin's going to go over the last year and a half or so. Every time this chart has formed structures, for example, it formed a descending channel over here, or descending, actually it's some sort of bullish pennant formation. We formed over here when we broke upwards on March 13th. That's the exact day Bitcoin broke upwards. Same thing back here in January. That's the exact day Bitcoin broke upwards. Same thing over here in June. That's the exact day Bitcoin held support on 24.4k. Same thing over here with this descending channel formation in September. That's the exact day, as you can see, that this major move started from 53, this major 53% move started from 24.5k. Fact of the matter is, the Bitcoin dominance chart and where it's gone has predicted Bitcoin moves quite nicely. Whenever it moves upwards, Bitcoin is bullish. Whenever it moves downwards, Bitcoin is bearish. Unfortunately, Bitcoin dominance has lost a very major support zone at 52% here. Now, I'm not going to say it's a fully confirmed break as of right now. I've only seen one daily candle, but it certainly is breaking. And if we do continue to move downwards here, it does raise the likelihood that Bitcoin corrects further. So perhaps it's something to watch. And if Bitcoin ETF gets delayed, it becomes very likely, as I said, that Bitcoin moves downwards. Same thing with Ethereum. Ethereum is on support technically. We broke down from its yellow line over here as expected. That was our expectation. We expected to be testing this line. But again, if the ETF is delayed and there's no immediate cause for a price pump, there's really no reason why the TA shouldn't just fold out more and play out more. This is a massive rounding top formation. We should go downwards more from here, especially considering that the rejection zone for Ethereum is the major macro level, 2100, which kind of held us up for support throughout the entirety of the bull market and suppressed us throughout the entirety of the bear market. So again, I'll say it one more time and I'll stop sounding like a broken record in a second. I do believe that if there is no cause for an immediate pump, like a news event, like the ETF approval, then we should be going downwards further for further corrections on Bitcoin. I don't believe those corrections will take us lower than 32k or 30k specifically, unless there is a denial on the ETF, unless the ETFs are rejected. I think I've been very clear about that. I do want to look at the macro chart. The weekly chart, so obviously, guys, we have a daily chart RSI. Okay, daily chart RSI is offering massive support. I want to make something very clear, okay? I wouldn't consider myself... it's hard to say, really. It's hard to say whether I say I'm bearish right now. I'm waiting for the ETF decision. I think the TA is bearish, but I think given the velocity, the pure weight behind these ETF decisions, I don't think it's really logical to be taking a very strong bias at all right now. I'm personally on the fence in terms of market positions. I'm not doing anything in terms of market positions. But yes, I'm very well understanding that the charts lean bearish. I'm very well understanding that this upwards trend that has supported Bitcoin on the RSI since August the 18th is unsustainable. It will break eventually. It will probably break on this retest if there is no ETF approval. And with that said, we need to be looking for other, places to find support. And I think one of the places we can find support on a bit more sustainable level is the weekly chart RSI support line. Now, this is a weekly chart RSI support line going back from July or June 2022. So it's much more sustainable. It's much less radical in trajectory. And right now, again, we're rejecting from a major level, a major macro level, and this ascending support line on the RSI weekly could line up for a retest, for a bounce of support, if we retest 30 to 32k. From there, we could go upwards on weekly RSI, we could go upwards on price as well, and we could also break this red box for support. That would make a lot of sense to me. We have a lot of room to move to the downside. Bitcoin is not going to get bearish if we go down to 30k. Bitcoin will have a lot of support down there, not just from the weekly RSI, not just from the major macro level that defined the last 3 years of Bitcoin's price action, realistically, but also from bull market support band, also from things like Gaussian channel. I don't think it's reasonable to assume that Bitcoin going down here is unhealthy at all. In fact, we've seen this happen on a cyclical basis over and over again. These yellow horizontal lines represent the line in the sand for each cyclical market on Bitcoin, right? The line in the sand that divides the bull market from the bear market, divides the bull market from the bear market, bull market from the bear market, right? In our case right now, that line in the sand is around 30 to 32k, and we've had weekly chart RSI lines that have kind of supported the moves upwards. And we generally break below those lines we always break below those lines on the RSI after breaking the horizontal level. So for example, we broke the line in 2016 over here in July 2016, about a year or almost a year after breaking above the horizontal line. We broke downwards from that RSI line. We saw quite a significant correction down from 800 all the way to 400, a 50% correction on Bitcoin due to that breakdown in the RSI. In 2018, we didn't see that line hold for support as long as we did the previous year. The previous cycle, that's because it was of a much higher trajectory. And when we broke it down after, basically 6 months after we broke above the horizontal line. All right, we broke down from that line and we saw a huge correction, basically from 12,000 all the way down to 4,000, but that was exacerbated by the COVID drop. Realistically, it was 12,000 down to 6,000, so another 50% correction. All right, and we've got the same kind of structure forming on the weekly RSI. Okay, we've broken above the horizontal line as planned. Eventually, we will break below this weekly chart RSI line, but it's a question of when. Okay, for example, as I said before, it happened a year after we broke above the horizontal line in 2015. And by the time we broke it down, we'd already seen an additional gain of 150%. So the 50% correction didn't affect us. It happened 6 months later in 2019. But again, we saw an additional gain of 140%. So say, for example, we follow the previous trends and we see an additional gain of 150%, which is quite exacerbated. Let's just say we go to all-time highs before we break this weekly chart line. Let's just say we go to 69k. And then we see a correction. Previously it was 50%, but again, we're actually adding diminishing returns, okay, as I just did with 150%, making 119. If we say, let's just say 30%, it will take us down to 48k, right? So it's very reasonable to assume that this weekly chart RSI line is very much part of a macro trend that we always do after breaking the horizontal critical line. And it's very reasonable to assume that this weekly RSI line will support us for quite a long period of time, going into 2024, going into the 60k price region, and then finally breaking down and finally seeing a proper pre-bull market correction. But it certainly doesn't need to happen now, right? It can happen, next year. It can happen 6 months from now. It doesn't need to happen now. I do think at some point Bitcoin will see a proper pre-bull market correction, just like what we saw over here for 3 months in 2016, and just like what we saw over here, right, for basically 6 months minus the COVID drop in 2020. I do think that Bitcoin will see a proper pre-bull market correction. It has happened on the last 2 occasions, and there's no reason to believe it won't happen now. But the problem with the bearish argument right now is there's no way to know when that will occur, and it could occur in a year from now when Bitcoin's up at 60k, in which case the negative returns don't matter. So be cautious with the bear cases. I've been very clear about that before. Every single bear case that has existed in the last 2 years has been debunked. People have been going on and on and on about the same arguments for over and over and over again with no actual charting evidence to support it. Just words and speculation means nothing. Fact of the matter is Bitcoin's in a very good position on a long-term scale. It will be until we lose 30k, if we lose 30k. I personally don't think will happen unless we see an ETF rejection. And on a shorter-term scale, the Bitcoin TA is bearish. Again, we'll have to wait for ETF decision, but realistically, the TA suggests we'll go downwards for further corrections, but that will be healthy in my opinion. So, guys, that's my opinion on Bitcoin right now. I thank you for watching the video. I hope you enjoyed it. Check out on Telegram, the Telegram VIP group. What you can see on the Telegram VIP group in this information and results group right here is the payment information, is what you get for joining the group, is the 14-day free trial information and also the trading results PDF where we have an 80.5% win rate on display. If you want to make money on altcoins, you can do it on Telegram VIP. Go ahead and do that if you're interested. And then also check out the Crypto Academy, become a trader 10-unit course if you want to become a trader, if you want to learn how to trade, you want to learn about trading itself. The art of trading, becoming a career trader, a hobby trader, whatever it may be. If you want to learn about profitable trading, this is the place you can do it. All the information is on the website as well as our email address. And finally, one more reminder, I'll just quickly remind you once more. The Bitget trading competition lasts for 14 days. Those are the details right there. Sign up to the Bitget exchange using my referral link below and sign up to the Bingx exchange using my referral link below if you're looking for a global non-KYC exchange. Guys, thanks for watching. Hope you enjoyed, and I'll catch you in the next video. Cheers.